Good morning. I'd like to call meeting 5 of the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture to order. As is the case with us every time, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm happy to have 3 guests from home. One of them, Harris Moore, sitting back there, is going to lead us in the pledge. Everybody stand, please. Thank you, Harris. If you distributed that well at point guard this year, we'd have been in real good shape. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen,
Here.
Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Nunn, Senator Reed,
Here.
Senator Richardson,
Here.
Senator Webb, Senator Wilson, Senator Yates, Vice Chair Boswell, and Chair Howell.
Here.
Yep.
We do have a quorum. Thank you. Before we get started, if anybody has any guests here, I'm going to start off with that. I'm happy to have my son Owen in the back with his friends Davin Hood and Harris Moore. Appreciate them coming up. I know it's because they wanted to hang out with me rather than miss school, but appreciate them coming up today. Anybody else got any guests? Senator Webb?
I've got McLean Dyer, my homeboy from Grayson. He's down shadowing me today, so I appreciate the opportunity to tell him hi.
Anybody else? All right. First off is chairman privilege. We're going to do House Bill 216. Chair Dossett, if you'll come up with your guests. You know the routine. Introduce yourself for the record and start it when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. State Representative Myron Dossett, 9th District, Christian County. House Bill 216 is legislation when we move the Office of Ag Policy into the Department of Agriculture. The prohibition on those employees within the Office of Ag Policy of being able to apply for grants or loans was extended onto the members, employees there within the Department of Agriculture. This legislation will correct that issue right there. The employees there of the Department of Agriculture will be able to apply for loans and grants there through the Ag Finance and the Ag Development Board, and but the prohibitions will continue to be in place for those employees of the Office of Ag Policy.
There's been a motion and a second on the bill. Before we do this, I just want to clear up this applies to merit employees.
Correct.
In the merit system. There's been a motion and a second. No further discussion. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen, Senator Funky Fromeyer, Senator Nunn, Senator Reed, Senator Richardson, Senator Webb, Senator Wilson, Senator Yates, and Chair Howell.
Aye. This bill passes. We'll be moving on to the Senate. Thank you for your time. Thank you all for clearing up this.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you,
Thank you,
committee.
Chairman.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Senate Bill 122. I believe that Senator Richardson has some questions on this, something that he wants to address.
Make a motion that we bring this back up for another vote.
There's been a motion and a second to bring this back up for reconsideration. All in favor, please. I told you to turn your mic on, and then I didn't. That's real good, isn't it? You inspired me. This motion is now back up before the committee. There were some issues that were brought up the last time on this that we have addressed in a new committee sub. So there is a committee sub out there, Senate Committee Sub 2, to have a motion to adopt. Been a motion on the sub by Senator Carpenter, second by Senator Boswell. All in favor of adoption of the committee sub, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The committee sub is adopted. We have had a lot of discussion on this, so we're not going to get into anything else on it today. This committee sub just addressed a couple of issues with the localities to clarify language to allow them to regulate. They can't outright ban any kind of business that we're dealing with, but it does allow them to regulate that however they so choose. And it clarified language to direct any fines and fees back to the local authorities that are regulating. It was implicit in that language, but we went and cleared all of that out. If there's any discussion on this, if seeing there's been a motion on the bill there is a motion on the bill as adopted by the Senate Committee Sub 2. Easy for you to say. Is there a second? There's a second by Senator Webb. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell, Senator Carpenter, Senator Deneen,
Explain my vote.
Yes.
At this time, I'm still a no on this bill because I believe on the back end of this bill, some of those things still need to be addressed on the enforcement side of things, and who is going to be the people involved in inspecting these areas. And I still think that this opens the door up for a lot of bad actors on the back end. I do appreciate the sub and some of the clarity that was put into the front end of this bill. To still just have some reserves on this bill. So at this time, I'm still a no.
Senator Funky Fromeyer,
Explain my no vote.
Yes.
Yes. So I still have issues, and forgive me, I wasn't able to provide this committee sub. The biggest concerns that have continued to be addressed by our community is the inability to verify the origin or the health animal records that when Petland ships them in from other states. And like so many things, we're trying to be careful about what comes across our borders, including pets. But this is something that forgive me, I just have not seen that quite addressed, and that was one of our biggest concerns. So I'm a no.
Senator Nunn, Senator Reed,
No, and along the same lines as the reasons for Senator Deneen's reasons for voting no, I agree. Thank you.
Senator Richardson, Senator Webb,
Explain my yes vote.
Yes.
I appreciate the chairman doing what he said he would do in the last meeting in the resurrection of this piece of legislation. I think it's important. We have a regulatory scheme in place. The federal government, APHIS, USDA, has a scheme in place for qualified breeders. And, you know, if it's an enforcement issue, it's a local enforcement issue. It's not a pet land issue or any other legitimate business doing business. So on behalf, once again, of private business, private property rights, animal ownership, and purebred dogs, I vote aye.
Senator Wilson, Senator Yates, and Chair Howell.
This motion passes. Next up is House Bill 391. Representative Nemus, I believe, or will you proceed and introduce yourself for the record, introduce your guest, and proceed at your will.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jason Nemus. I'm the state representative of the 33rd District. That's Jefferson, Oldham, and Shelby counties.
Jessica Mays with the Kentucky State Beekeepers.
Scott Moore, Director, Program Manager, Certified Kentucky Honey Producers, and Director, Jefferson County Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In a lot of ways, I'm wondering what you're wondering. What is this Louisville boy doing in Agriculture Committee?
The thought had crossed my mind, but it's always glad to have you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. So earlier this year, or actually last year, my friend called me and said, we've got laws on Kentucky honey that are not good. They're one of the worst in the country, the second worst in the country, and we need to make them better for the honey producer and the consumer in Kentucky, and also to bring more bees honeybees back to Kentucky. So what we've done is a very simple bill. I think it'll be the easiest vote, Senator Webb, of the whole session for you, for everybody else as well. Right now, the law is that you can produce 150 gallons of honey off your farm, and we're going to make it 500. There are 24 states that don't have any number. It's pretty much it is unregulated, and there are, like I said, there's only one state that's worse than ours. So that's what we're trying to do, and I'll let my friends say what they want to say, and then hopefully we'll can answer any questions that you've got. And you have some Kentucky honey in your packets. Not trying to buy a vote. Mr. Boswell wouldn't do that, but I'm trying to let you know how good Kentucky honey is.
So currently, KRS 217.187 requires beekeepers who are producing more than 150 gallons, which is 1,800 pounds of honey, in a year to do so in a certified honey house or food processing establishment. This bill would increase that limit to 500 gallons, which is 6,000 pounds. It should be noted that honey is a non-processed, inherently safe, raw, and shelf-stable food. This increase in the limit a beekeeper can produce before a certified honey house is required will pose no additional health threat to the public. We are also proposing to add the wording pure and unadulterated honey, as well as that he or she produced in Kentucky, to ensure that we promote and expand actual Kentucky beekeepers' honey and not an imported or rebottled product. Phil Craft, who was the state apiarist in 2002 when the original statute was enacted, has reported that the 150-gallon limit was relatively arbitrary, loosely based on national standards at the time. Since 2002, most states have increased allowances, with 25 states eliminating the limits for honey processing altogether, and 17 states have actually totally eliminated the requirement. Out of 43 states with published regulations for honey processing, as Representative Nemes mentioned, Kentucky is currently tied as the second most restrictive in the nation. States that have totally deregulated honey include our neighbors Indiana and Ohio, where beekeepers can process all the honey they can produce without the expense and complications of a honey house. U.S. imports of honey have surged over 70% in the last 15 years. According to data from the USDA, in 2023, the U.S. consumed over 578 million pounds of honey, yet we produced only 139 million pounds. Coupled with the fact that honey is the third most adulterated food commodity brought into the U.S., this leaves a large and unhealthy deficit.
There's been a motion on the bill by Senator Carpenter, second. Any further discussion, any questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious, why put 500? Why not make it unlimited?
Well, let me say this. We would think that would be a friendly floor amendment. We've done it because that puts us right in the middle of the nation, but we would certainly be open to that floor amendment. We'd be honored to have it.
I mean, I know there's an issue with honeybees in our country and our state, and it seems to me if we went unlimited, that we might increase it even more. Anything we can do to help our agriculture.
Yeah, thank you.
Representative Nemes, with you coming in, was this medicinal honey? Is that what this is?
No, sir.
Okay. I get confused when you come in sometimes. I apologize, but I just wanted to make sure.
I had some medicinal honey, but it had some other factors in it when I was growing up.
Senator Hornbeck always takes me to his farm and gives medicinal honey, but I think it's mixed with a little other product.
You got to cut it just right with the right substances.
Senator Honey's good on graham crackers. Is good on a lot of things. My 16-year-old, was coughing this weekend. Took a little honey and helped him. So it does have some medicinal values.
There you go. As do most things that you champion. Senator Funky Fromeyer.
I'm afraid Senators Howells might have to say adulterated honey. Like, it's going to have to be labeled properly. So the honey house, when you're describing that, I do like the thought of a floor amendment to eliminate this limit. I'm not recognizing the value limit. So what's the difference of a honey house producing it versus not being bottled or processed in a honey house?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
Honey. So again, as Jessica said, honey is a unprocessed, raw, inherently safe, shelf-stable food. So there is no health risk for a farmer to produce, 149 gallons, off the farm versus, once we hit that 150. Again, it was just an arbitrary number that was established back in 2002. But there's no inherent risk to the public safety once you cross that 150 threshold. as it stands right now. So, and it's a significant burden on Kentucky beekeepers. It costs somewhere between $100,000 and $150,000 to build a honey house, which is basically just a certified food processing establishment. And so a lot of beekeepers kind of cap out right around that 150 gallons because the return on investment is well beyond the 5 years that it would take for us to get that back. And they just get into doing other things besides honey. And much like all the other agricultural industries, I mean, the trade deficit is a huge problem for us. I mean, it's over 70%, and a lot of the stuff that's coming in is, as you just mentioned, is adulterated. It's cut with rice syrup, corn syrup, other ingredients coming from China through transshipments through Vietnam, South America, and it's a huge problem for us. So anything that we can do that can allow our Kentucky beekeepers to grow and produce more local Kentucky honey. And then, as Senator Reed said, there's a huge issue right now with colony loss, especially out off the West Coast and almond pollination right now. And pollinators are needed for farming operations, just for the pollination as well. So
We still would want the protections in there that it be pure and unadulterated, and that it be, the language on produced in Kentucky by that person. And there's also labeling requirements elsewhere. So that still needs to be present for the protection of the public.
And I might add that there's no additional risk going from 500 to unlimited, and that still requires basic sanitation like we do with anything else of any other cottage food. So it still has to be, clean and safe, and there's still regulations at the end that has to abide by all of that.
Following up on Senator Funky Fromeyer's question, you had mentioned a certified honey house. Who certifies honey houses? Is this a USDA certification or what?
The Cabinet for Health and Family Services does that, just like a certified kitchen. If someone's going to do canning or other things, it's exactly the same.
Thank you. Senator Nunn, I believe you had a question. Senator Boswell?
Thank you, Representative Dean. This is an excellent bill. The bees not only just create honey, they are part of the survival of our planet and our agriculture products. Everything we do, I think we need to, as soon as possible, get an amendment on this bill, just like as has been mentioned, because I think that it's going to have a lot of support here. So if we can do it by maybe committee sub or floor, whatever we got to do, let's get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Carpenter. Senator Deneen. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Senator Nunn. Senator Reed.
Aye.
Senator Richardson. Senator Webb. Senator Wilson. Senator Yates. Chair Howell.
Aye. This bill passes. We'll be moving on to the Senate floor. Senator Yates, I believe you had wanted to register some votes.
Yes, I apologize. I got trapped in the office by several unexpected guests. But on the first bill that was for us, it was a Senate Bill 122. If I could be registered as a no, it will not change the outcome. Senate Bill 171 is a yes. House Bill 216, a yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, it makes it 6. We have not heard 171, so. You know where I'm at. Thanks for getting out ahead on that issue, Senator Yates.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I also want to thank Ms. Abbott and Mr. Kasakevich. You've been wonderful to work with.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
As the great setting the table segue from Senator Yates, Senate Bill 171 is on the agenda for today. I've had numerous discussions with the bill sponsor. There's still some work being done amongst all the parties, so we are passing over that bill for today. With no further business before this committee,